regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5, the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers. A list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, October 27th, 2015. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May those assembled here today enjoy the many offerings of our township. May we abide by the rules we have established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics. May we place service above self in our daily endeavors, and may we always test ourselves and our efforts to be sure that they are the truth, good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Amen. Good evening, everyone. For those of you in the audience, there is a copy of our agenda on the corner of the table over there. If you'd like to take a copy and follow along, we are up to our commendations and proclamations, which is number 5. And we are up to honoring our former councilman, Brian Regan.
Let's do roll call first.
You need a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. McCarthy, will you poll the council?
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Francois.
Here.
Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Councilman Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Sherman. Councilman Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, we are now up to Section 5 on the agenda, which is the commendations and proclamations, honoring our former councilman, Brian Regan.
It's good evening, everybody. It's with extreme honor and such a privilege for me to be able to do this, not as the deputy mayor, but as a friend and also as an elected official, to honor our former councilman, Brian Regan. Brian has been a friend of mine. He has been a true statesman on the council, and it really is a privilege to give him this commendation today. So I will read it and we'll give him his plaque and allow him to say quite a few words. Okay. The commendation reads, whereas the Township of Franklin is benefited by citizens who contribute their time, talent, and skills for the betterment of the community, and whereas Brian G. Regan has served the community of Franklin Township, Somerset County, as councilman at large from March 22nd, 2011 through July 18, 2015, and as deputy mayor from January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014. Whereas in addition to all of his duties on the Township Council, he has served in very many capacities on various boards and commissions, including the Administration Committee, Financial Oversight Committee, Public Safety Standing Committees, a council liaison, representative to the Emergency Life Support Committee, Emergency Planning Committee, Emergency Management Council, Fire Chief Association, Fire Prevention Board, Hamilton Street Advisory Board, Housing Authority, Library Board of Trustees, and the Sewage Authority. He's done a lot of work for this township. Whereas the time and talent dedicated to those various boards and commissions is merely a small indication of Brian's dedication to this community and its residents, and his desires and efforts to keep Franklin Township a home in which we can all be proud. Now, therefore, I, Kimberly Francois, Deputy Mayor, and our Mayor Christopher Kelly of the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby thank and commend Brian G. Regan for his devotion and dedication to our community and its residents. Brian has been a great leader. All the work he has done will benefit us, this township, for generations to come. And I just want to personally thank you, Brian, and present this plaque to you. It says, in sincere appreciation of your dedicated service to the township, presented to Brian G. Regan. What does G stand for?
Gerard.
I should know that. We're supposed to be friends. Councilman at Large, March 22nd, 2011 to July 18, 2015. Deputy Mayor, January 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2014. By the Township Council, manager, staff, and residents of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, New Jersey. Let's all give them a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. Does feel a little odd standing up here and just as a regular citizen today, and a relief, believe me. First, I do want to thank everyone here tonight for this plaque, for my members. Serving on council, especially in a town like Franklin, I've served, the 2 terms, 8 years overall, and I've worked with a lot of council people. Though you don't always see eye to eye with folks, what I do believe is that folks are committed to serving this town, and they do their best, and that be whether they be Republicans or Democrats. People up here generally do not get into it because of a selfish reason. They get in because they want to try to do the best. We all have a lot of different opinions, and we just have to be able to be tolerant of that and work with each other to drive to resolution, and that's what I always try to do on council. But serving on council, I had really the opportunity, and it was a great experience because of people like our township manager, Bob Vornlacher, our master clerk, Anne-Marie McCarthy, our finance person in the back, CFO, Kathy Moody, who was a great addition to the staff about 1.5 years ago, 2 years in that range, to really help. So, and it's the staff here, though you see a lot of the elected officials, let it, for sure know that it is the staff here that are really dedicated to serving this town, and they work. And the people I've mentioned specifically, I know work very hard and very long extra hours. Bob, Anne-Marie, they've been here many, many hours. Their days are not 8-hour days. And they do that because in their heart, they love this town and want to and serve its residents and do a good job. And that truly is, a great character trait to have, that dedication. And then also, we have, the years I've been here, we were very fortunate. Lou was our attorney. And Lou does a great job. I trusted his guidance, his opinion. He has never steered me wrong. And I just also want to make sure that, he's acknowledged and thanked for his service to this town. So now let's start with some of the council people I've served with. Ted Chase in the First Ward brought a lot of experience and expertise in the area of planning and zoning. A real knowledgeable guy to have come on to council. Raj Sherman, our Second Ward, really dedicated to the Second Ward, and a driving force in the Arts Council, and kind of point on the Franklin Day. Really dedicated again to serving the residents and making sure that they have a good experience here in town. Phil Kramer, Ward 3. So I think the best teamwork that I've ever done is kind of with Phil, when we were serving together on the Finance Committee. I believe we both co-led that and did a great job. And I think I can honestly say that serving on that committee was probably the best teamwork that I've done on council. Councilman Carl Wright. Tremendous energy. I love when he was sitting next to me, because you just never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. Or not loudly anyway, and he'd sit there and you're trying not to laugh while, everybody's up here. But he's a good friend, a good supporter, and really committed to this town for recreation and parks and for youth program. Everyone comes to the table with a different gift, and we have to recognize that in all. And Carl, again, it was a pleasure serving with you. Our Deputy Mayor, Kimberly, where'd she go? Oh, yeah, behind me. As she said, over the time, you actually get to form friendships. And I have that friendship with Kimberly. She's a wonderful person. I love talking to her. I love her knowledge, her passion, the ability for her to see the big picture and not get caught up in the little things that sometimes, trip people. She doesn't do that. She really steps back and looks at the big picture, and I really appreciate that and really enjoyed working with her. And we'll look forward to continue to hanging out together afterwards. Prasad, again, I've served. Prasad came on after I guess initially left, but then when I came back, he was serving. He was a man who is focused on diversity, really appreciates that, and sees that in our community. And I think his dedication to this town is also unquestionable in my mind, because I truly believe he tries to do his best to serve all residents of our town. I think I hit everybody. Oh, Mr. Vassanella. Before I get, so Mr. James in the Fifth Ward, I knew I was off on a ward. So Jimmy I've known for a long time also. Jimmy was going back to when I first came on in '04. Jim, you came on in '05 or '06? Mid-'05. So he's the longest serving council person that I've served with, continues up here. Jimmy brings a true amount of energy, insight, has a lot of, can get down into the details and really see what's happening at the lower level. So you have this balance of skills, people who bring the big picture, trying to see it all, some who work at the lower level and the details. And it was great seeing Jimmy that one time on the picture when we were watching, what show was that? Law and Order, and his picture hanging up there as an extra. All right, last but not least, Chanel. Chanel replaced me on council, and I am so very happy. I believe that, I said, I think when I resigned, the day I resigned, I talked about being a steward of that seat, because that's how I felt. I was a steward. I didn't own that seat. It wasn't mine to keep. And I never tried to govern that way. I tried to serve and represent the residents of this town. And with that in thought, with that in mind, I am so grateful and happy to see Chanel sitting in my seat, because I believe she brings that same focus, that same thought process. A very intelligent woman who has great negotiation skills. And for everyone that sits out here knows that that's an important skill to have so that you can sit up there. So this town really does have, and the mayor. Mayor Kelly. So obviously the mayor came on this year. We appointed him at the beginning of the year. I didn't know Chris too well prior to it. We actually belonged to St. Matthias together. I'd see him around, everything. But obviously his commitment and dedication and caring to this town, he grew up in this town. It's clear that he has that. And I am so happy for you and your family, and grateful in your Facebook posting today of the remission of cancer. So it's really great that that's happened, and know that you were in my prayers. You were in my prayers, and I'm so grateful that that has happened. So again, you know, it wasn't about always, you know, what I did, or generally individual council people don't do much. They accomplish goals and objectives with the help of all those peers that you see up there. Though sitting on the council 8 years, you know, 8 years I was on the Finance Oversight Committee, which I said that for half of that time, the time that when I came back in 10, I've served on that with Phil. But in addition to Phil, Carl was on there 2 years. Deputy Mayor Kimberly was on there 1 year. I think those are the, and Jimmy was 1 year. So there's a lot of mix. And then also Mayor Brian Levine. You know, Brian obviously isn't here. He's a freeholder now. But Brian, I served with also, I served with him the longest because Jimmy came on afterwards. And, you know, Brian had a commitment and dedication to this town. We didn't always see eye to eye, but I believe that if you ask Brian to tell that, you know, he always knew where I was coming from and where we disagreed. I never pulled the fast one on him, and him not on me. I think, you know, we spoke very clearly and directly about when we didn't agree on something. So Brian, you know, deserves, you know, to be acknowledged, as we did when he finished his term here. But my term on public safety, I guess there was one initiative that I was truly very proud of, and that was after the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, where, as on public safety, I worked with the chief and the other members of public safety to ensure we just didn't go around and visit schools and show up. What we actually did is we took a deep dive and said that our schools need to have a security plan. Oddly enough, the only requirement is that all public schools have a security plan. There were 5 private schools in town that at that time did not have a security plan. We drove with the chief, obviously, him and his staff doing all the work. But now those 5 private schools have a security plan. And I believe that that's a plus because, you know, it shows our commitment to not only our children, but to the workers, to the teachers of those schools, that we value all our residents and workers' lives that come here to Franklin. And putting together a security plan, I think, was very key on that. And then also, as you know, as I mentioned about the Finance Oversight Committee, co-leading that with Phil and working side by side with him during the last 4 years was very critical for our financial stability. And in doing this, when I came in 2004, we had a push to televise our meetings. We recorded them, but there was a big push to televise. And I kind of stepped out as a Democratic councilman and said, yeah, we should do that. So in 2005, I think we started recording somewhere in the middle of 2005, or towards the end. And I'm very supportive of that being important for transparency within government. Tonight, I asked my former peers to support the resolution to send to the county such that they will televise their meetings, which they don't do. Actually, they don't even record them. They don't take audio recordings of them. They're just minutes. And to me, when you have an open meeting, government meeting, and the only minutes being taken is through the view of one person, the deputy clerk, you know, I'd just be concerned that everything is getting communicated. So I think all that goes aside when you televise and when you do an audio recording of the meetings, which we've been a leader in that. And I think in Somerset County, Franklin was the second town that did that. So having thanked everybody, 2 people that are here tonight that I didn't thank is my wife Janice and my daughter Caitlin. You know, working in public life and holding a public office really takes a lot of demands on your time. And when you do that, you're out of home a lot. And my daughter Caitlin, my son Liam, they were very supportive of me, and so was my wife. In fact, during difficult times in council, and you know, it's in all seriousness, there always are. There are times that are very difficult where you just say, Lord, why did I do this? they carried me. It wasn't that they supported me. They carried me through those moments. So I want to thank you. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
We don't get the group picture?
Oh, wow.
No group picture? Oh, man.
Thank you.
Where's the group shot? Where'd he go? Good luck. Wow, no group shot. Gee. That's cheap.
Go ahead, they're taking a picture now. Picture now, I'm sorry. They're taking a picture.
Nope, you're missing it. Go down there.
Oh, is that a group shot? Oh. They being selected.
No, just first picture.
Okay. So this is a proclamation for Diwali. Whereas Diwali is a festival of lights during which celebrants light small oil lamps, place them around the home, and pray for health, knowledge, and peace. And whereas celebrants of Diwali believe that rows of lamps symbolize the light within the individual that rids the soul of the darkness of ignorance. And whereas Diwali falls on the last day of the last month in the lunar calendar and is celebrated as a day of thanksgiving and the beginning of the new year for many Hindus. And whereas for Hindus, Diwali is a celebration of the victory of good over evil. And whereas for Sikhs, Diwali is fated as the day that the sixth founding Sikh Guru or revered teacher, Guru Hargobind, was released from captivity by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. And whereas for Jains, Diwali marks the anniversary of the attainment of moksha or celebration or liberation by Lord Mahavira, the last of the Tirankaras, who were the great teachers of Jain Dharma at the end of his life in 527 BC. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Christopher Kelly, on behalf of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, do hereby recognize November 11th through November 15th as Diwali 2015 in the Township of Franklin and call upon its residents to observe and celebrate Diwali with various activities and programs to learn about its religious and historical significance. I give that to Mr. Desai, who is a former professor of engineering and president of the Indo-American Literary Society, and I invite him to say a few words.
Honorable Mayor, honorable members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, the festival, Diwali is a great festival which is being celebrated all over India as well as by all the people of Indian origin living in the entire in the world in the different countries. It is celebrated almost in the entire world, I would say, from that point of view. And the significance of this particular celebration is it's a festival of lights, and it reminds us about that um, from the darkness, our progress should be towards light. And it has got the connection with the ancient scriptures where Lord Rama had a victory over the demon Ravan, and from there it starts. And then so many other things also being added to the same. And there is one in Sanskrit language, there is a special, in scripture it is written that Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya asado ma sadgamaya mrityor mam amrutam gamaya. The meaning is that, O God, lead us from darkness towards light. O God, lead us from falsehood to the truth. O God, lead us from the mortality to immortality. Or, O God, lead us from from evil to goodness, from evil to nobility. So this is a kind of the meaning or a kind of spirit that is behind this particular celebration. And recently we had I do remember, all of us remember that recently we had the inauguration of the in the memorial where 6 people lost their lives in September 11th. We recently had the inauguration of those particular monuments. So we cannot forget September 11. This world is full of the world is full of turmoil of terrorism and so many things which is evil. And at this stage, let us pray God that, oh God, lead us from this world-disturbing terrorism and anything that is connected with that one, and lead us towards the world peace. So this is a celebration where let us pray to God that, oh God, lead us to the peace in our United States as well as in the whole world. Thank you.
Boy, that's, I've had 2 hard acts to follow here. Okay. This proclamation is for the National Red Ribbon Campaign. Whereas alcohol and drug abuse in this nation have reached epidemic stages, and whereas it is imperative that the visible, unified prevention education efforts by community members be launched to eliminate the demand for drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles, no use of illegal drugs, no illegal use of legal drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America during Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st. And whereas business, government, parents, law enforcement, media, medical institutions, religious institutions, schools, senior citizens, service organizations, and youth will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during this week-long campaign. And whereas the community of the Township of Franklin further commits its resources to ensure the success of Red Ribbon Campaign, now therefore be it resolved that I, Christopher Kelly, Mayor of the Township of Franklin, on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st as Red Ribbon Week, and encourage our citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities, not only during Red Ribbon Week, but all year long, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free Franklin Township.
I'm Alice Sipowicz. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation, but also the chairperson for the Municipal Alliance for the Prevention of Substance Abuse. So I'd like to, on behalf of the Alliance, thank the Mayor and Council for recognizing the importance of prevention efforts throughout this week, but I'd also like to recognize the Alliance members, the school district, especially the Students Assistance Counselors, health educators, and Officer Dawn Flanders for their efforts throughout the year as they educate young people and help to educate and create community awareness regarding the negative effects of substance abuse. Essentially, we believe that the majority of residents do not engage in the use of illegal substances, and young people abide by underage drinking laws. However, there are far too many people that fight addiction every day. So we especially want to remind parents and guardians that they make a difference in why their children choose to live substance abuse-free lives. It's not only important to be an involved parent and a good role model, but parents need to talk to their children early and often, set clear rules, and monitor their activities and discourage unsupervised parties where drugs and alcohol might be available. There's a few points or some resources that I'd like to mention that especially in event of an emergency, people know that there are places where they can turn for helpful resources. So recently, the 911 Lifeline legislation was passed, which encourages people, if they're faced with a substance abuse medical emergency, that they can call for assistance with immunity from prosecution. For youth, there's also an organization called the Second Floor, and it's a youth helpline which is available 24/7, and they are at 1-888-222-2228. And also the Mental Health Association of New Jersey offers what's called New Jersey Connect for Recovery, which is a free confidential call line at 1-855-652-3737, which provides support for individuals and families coping with heroin addiction and addiction to prescription painkillers. The Alliance has 2 community events coming up. In celebration of Red Ribbon Week, we have our annual poster contest, which is open to children in grades K through 12, and posters are accepted at the Recreation Office through November 13th. Also, in cooperation with the school district, the high school SAC is a presenter for a partnership for a drug-free New Jersey, and she will be making presentations on November 11th and 12th at Franklin Middle School on 15-minute child break. It's a 15-minute child break program, which encourages parents and gives them some guidance in ways to communicate and talk to their children about avoiding partaking in illegal substances. So as a whole, we want to just remind everyone that if we come together as a community, we can help prevent senseless tragedies. So thank you.
You want to announce it? Did she announce it?
Is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. This meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest which does not have a public hearing of its own. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand, and when recognized, give your name and address. Oh, and I know I'll be remiss if I don't mention this after the last meeting. If you could please refrain from any foul language or cursing while you're up there, that would be greatly appreciated.
All right, then I guess I'll just go. Hi, I'm Derek Franz. I'm from 28 Cartier Drive. I guess I know that it's not on the agenda. Regarding Catalpa Park, I know that it's proceeding forward with being into preliminary design, and I wanted to just request that the council consider having, I don't know, some kind of committee or at least input from the residents that could associate or discuss the buffer area that would go between the cricket fields and the residents' homes between Cartier and Arthur Glick. I think is the other street that's runs parallel with it. Gregory Lane, sorry. That's really primarily the only thing I was looking to say. So just for consideration, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other, sir, in the back, blue jacket? Yes.
My name is Philip Martin, 8 Old Lane, Somerset. I would just like to say that I found tonight's meeting deeply moving, especially Mr. Reagan's words about cooperation. We desperately need that kind of spirit in Washington today, and I really appreciated it. And the words about the Hindu celebration, well, I studied under 2 disciples of Mahatma Gandhi. Their names were A.J. Musti and Bayard Rustin, a personal friend of mine. And Gandhi, along with Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, are my idols. And then I admire people who work for causes like the Blue Ribbon Week, because I admire people who, sacrifice their time to try to spare others the pain and misery of addiction to such horrible substances. If I may, because of my health, may I read my comments tonight?
Sure.
Okay. It's less than 3 minutes.
Go ahead. We'll give you a little bit of extra time if you need it.
Oh, thank you, sir. Last night, about 9:30 p.m., Franklin Township Public Works, the Water Department, opened a hydrant on the dead-ended water main at the end of Old Lane, probably to clean out the water main. It's lucky my daughter heard the truck, because had she not, our home might have had irreparable damage. As it was, several thousand gallons were directed directly across my lawn and into my basement and crawl space. By the time I went out, the water was ankle deep on the lawn and was filling up the basement. The workers probably couldn't see where the water flow was going because it was pitch black, except for the truck lights and flashlights. This illustrates why some time ago I presented to you a plea for your help to keep the historic road connecting Highwood Road and Old Lane open. Last time I spoke to you, I was informed the state law would require you to turn that road into a regular street, and that would not only be cost prohibitive, it would pretty much defeat the whole purpose of creating 7 Nature Conservancy lots that are now part of the DNR Canal State Park. If it takes a change in state law to enable the township to help the residents of Old Lane, I'm willing to try to get the Assembly and Senate's help. I've already drafted a law, but need legal help to make it worded properly. The rationale for making an exception in the case of Highwood is that our health and safety are at stake, and that an emergency use, access, and utility road should not have to be detrimental to the goal of nature conservation. Every deed on the properties adjoining this road include access and utility easements. Our health and safety are at stake because, first, I doubt the fire department can get sufficient water pressure from the hydrant at the end of the dead-ended main on Old Lane to deal with a fire. It may need the loop to the main on Highwood Road to get sufficient pressure. Second, a fire truck would have a near impossible job of backing out of Old Lane because of its narrowness. Even the trucks that take trees down took me 15 minutes to figure out how they could turn around to get out. It needs the connector road to get to Highwood Road so it can safely and quickly exit Old Lane and Highwood, especially if there's another fire they have to get to. Third, when septics on Old Lane fail or pose a threat to the DNR Canal and its contribution to the Elizabethtown Water Company supply providing water to central New Jersey, this easement would enable homeowners to connect to the sewer line at the far end of Highwood Road by means of individual home grinder pumps. Fourth, if there is a blockage on Old Lane, an ambulance may not be able to get through to a resident in need without this access road. Fifth, the quality of water on Old Lane, I'm certain, would be improved by means of a connection from our main to the one on Highwood Road. Sixth, the access road enables Old Lane residents to be able to access Easton Avenue at a point where visibility, at least in one direction, is almost half a mile, instead of exiting from Old Lane, where the visibility is about 600 feet in both directions, and where traffic often violates the speed law, sometimes going up to 60 miles an hour. Finally, residents like me would not have to hire a structural engineer to assess such damage as that we experienced from last night's water main servicing to our home. The Director of Public Works told my daughter when she spoke to him today that this is what we have to do. If any one of you could give me advice, doesn't have to be tonight, or if there's any staff member or commission that can help me, I would be most appreciative. And thank you so much again for your attention. And may I have your permission to give copies of this to the clerk? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there, come right up.
Good evening. My name is Laquana Flagger. I live at 97 Rodney Avenue. I just have two issues that I like to bring to your attention. One are the deer. Public safety issue with the deer in our community. Those deers are getting hit and they're staying on the sides of the roads for a long time. Other cars are hitting them. People are swerving, maybe having accidents when it gets dark. Visibility is very difficult. Eastern Avenue, DeMont Lane, some of the main strips that the deer are running and getting hit. The X's are on the deer, but days go by, weeks, sometimes then the rodents and the other birds, they come along to eat after the deer, and it just makes it, and then the stench of it, is just heavy from the odor. So I'm just wondering, with public safety and awareness, what about the deer? If those issues could be addressed.
Actually, I can address that. The State Department of Health has determined that the dead deer on the side of the road do not present a health hazard. In fact, on state highways, the deer are not removed. It is a contract that both the county and the township enter into to have the deer removed, but the state has taken the position that it does not constitute a health hazard. And that's why you will see the deer decay along state highways. They don't remove them. The services that's provided is provided through a contract that we have with a company, as you can imagine. Those companies are few and far between. There are not many companies that provide the service of picking up deer carcasses. And so while we would love to be able to have a very, very responsive company, we deal with the company that is available, and it's the same company that Somerset County uses on the county roads. They're called in. If you see the X on it, that means our Public Works Department went out and verified its location. The police department notifies the company via fax, and they're supposed to respond within 24 hours. If you see a deer with an X on it and it's there for more than 24 hours, what I would ask everyone to do is to contact the police department again, and they will re-notify the company.
Thank you. Because more so, not so much on the health, but more of the safety side. I can understand the health, but the safety, keeping the roads clear and free of, debris and other animals makes it very difficult, and visibility is poor. Thank you for your comment on that. And then the other is just in regards to, I know that the mention of the Red Ribbon Week, which I think is awesome. Wanting to know more about, is the township going to filter more interest in for the youth for substance abuse awareness workshops and prescription medication overdoses, as it is high in the state of New Jersey, with respects to bringing that information to the youth at a very young age through the rec, and maybe have some type of workshop for awareness, making it more interesting and fun and on their level of interest. Is there anything that the township is considering doing that? Because I know just from the capacity of work that I do, a lot of youth are getting involved into drugs and prescribed meds at a very, very young age.
Really, that's a question for our Alliance Director, who's no longer here. I mean, you can certainly contact her directly. Generally speaking, this isn't question and answer. I answered your other question because it's a question I'm sure that all of the council members would have directed me to answer once you were done. As far as programs that are run for drug abuse, generally those programs are run through the Municipal Alliance, which is what was the Red Ribbon Award for today, and the school system. And we don't answer for the school system as far as the programs that are run there, but there's a number of programs. And have you visited the website, the Franklin Township website? Within the website is information on programs run both through the Recreation Department and the Franklin Youth Initiative, which I don't want to step on the Deputy Mayor's toes. She can certainly speak with it, as she's a founding member of the Franklin Youth Initiative and the programs that they run to deal with education as far as substance abuse is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tibbs.
Johnny H. Tips, 25 Parkside. I won't be long. First, I had to thank Brian Regan for his dedicated service to Franklin Township, and I wish him all the luck as becoming a freeholder. And I think one of the major parts of his platform was mental health type of issue, and which is one of the tragic things that's happening in this country nowadays in terms of all the tragedy that's been happening. It's been happening because of individuals with mental health problems. So I think that's a wonderful platform, a part of the platform that he is running for, you know. Now, I would like to know, Bob, who owns the street, Somerset Street, between Home and Kossuth?
Well, it's multiple. The section between Home and Main Street is owned by both New Brunswick and Franklin Township, and then once you hit Main Street going south, it's owned by the state of New Jersey.
On Somerset Street?
Yes.
On Somerset Street.
Somerset Street is Route 27 where it meets French Street. So French Street
Yeah.
coming into town by St. Peter's
I'm talking
Cemetery.
about where Mayor
And what I'm
Banks
saying,
is.
well, and I'm saying at the point there, it becomes a state highway at that traffic signal. You said Kossuth, which is beyond
Go
that
the other
traffic
way.
signal.
Go down Somerset Street.
And as
Down-
I said, half is New Brunswick and half is Franklin.
So that's the case. That's why that is the worst part of town that anybody could ever go on. It's about 20 cars have lost their ball joints and struts and so forth. Nobody has determined to fix that one space between on Route 27 between Home Street and Kossuth. Nobody has taken the responsibility of fixing that road, and it is absolutely. I'm surprised Jimmy Cahill, somebody ain't said something to somebody. So I thought I would mention it. If Franklin Township have any parts of that street, it is a shame that 3-block area there on Somerset Street.
Somerset Street.
It stops here, New Brunswick. You can see when New Brunswick stops, and it goes no further until it gets to the light. That part right in between there. I thought I had to bring that to your attention. Okay. Now, I think all of the plans that you guys have set forth for the oncoming years, I think has been tremendous. I think that everybody on the council are considered as team players, absolute team players, and it would be remiss if anyone decided to take their own personal political agendas and expect for the township to follow suit. Now, you have to remember that this town was considered the 7th best place the town to live in for a number of years. 10th now. 5th now. It's 5th now. Okay. It was 5th. Okay. Okay. Now, hopefully, that this administration coming in will try to remain and keep that as team players, to keep it at that level or to raise it higher. And you will not be doing that by dividing yourselves in any type of way. As they say, the old adage is, divided you fall, and what is that thing they say?
United we
we stand. So I want to point that pleasant, we are united in Franklin Township, and we want to keep Franklin Township united. And anyone that thinks they can take upon themselves to divide this township, they will be run out of town. And I hope everybody heard that. This is a lovely town to live in, and I'm proud to live in it. I've been here a long time. Most of the people have been up on the council. I've worked for everyone to be on the council to be there. I hope we can keep that for a number of years. Okay. All right. Now, and by the way, you have the finest police department in the country in Franklin Township. You now have one of the finest public works department in the country in Franklin Township. Anybody will build a memorial, the 9/11 memorial, by themselves. The town should be proud of anybody, any employees to build such an monument to the 9/11 victims that are responsible for us to be responsible for. You should be boasting to the highest heavens. And nobody seems to want to accept that position. That's wrong. That's definitely wrong. My personal part there? Oh, personal part this, okay. And the economic development that you guys have planned for, hopefully you go forward with it because it's a master plan for the millenniums and the rebuilding and the economic development for the whole community. And don't ever get remiss about forgetting about the youth in this particular town. Like the lady just talked about a few minutes ago, this whole effort should be geared toward your youth in town. You know, we are older guys. We get out of here soon. You have to build a community for your youth and all types of jobs and recreational facilities. That's very important for this community. It always has been that way, and I hope it stays that way. I have one little thing I would like to say that I'm very proud of. One of the youth that I've been mentoring in the community, you know, in the ghetto community, as we were called, he joined First Baptist Church past Sunday. And the whole crowd of First Baptist Church got up and cheered for a young man coming from the community, ghetto community, joined the church. He's seen it as the right thing to do, and he's one of the leaders of a youth empowerment group. Those are the kind of things that we want our young men to get into and to do. And we hope that you guys be our leaders, provide the vessels so we can go that way. And one last thing. Go Mets.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't cut you off after your 5 minutes, just for that, just for that one.
Good evening. Mr. Tibbs, you didn't give any material today. I was going to start with Go Mets. Mr. Reagan, one of the things
Mr. Connell, would you give your name and address, please?
you should know by now.
For the record.
25 Spring Street, Bill Connell. Brian spoke about his accomplishments on council, but when I moved, I grew up in town, but when I moved into my house, talking to my neighbors, I heard about this guy called Brian Reagan. A lot of the people that lived in my neighborhood at the time all raised their children with you and spoke highly of you long before I even got a chance to meet you. He was not only a productive council person, he was a good community member overall. And thank you. Let's see, say Go Mets. All right, boundaries. Amy Schumer tells a joke where she takes her mother to a soccer game and just to show her what boundaries look like. Mr. Prasad, you've been handing out a flyer that has board member recommendations on it. Please don't do that. I'd like to keep them separate. Let's see, the sound. Carl, sir. I don't know if you've had any problems this weekend, but I came up with the idea of possibly having you do a lap in a tutu, okay, every time you get a police complaint until the problem is resolved. Are you up for that? What? The Tranquility Group. I've been looking at the Facebook page, and there's a lot of anger there, and they're talking about, vote somebody out, okay? Then what, okay? I don't see a lot of productive conversation about what to do overall, because whether the park comes or it doesn't come, you still have issues that need to be discussed. If you're worried about development, recently Canal Walk had a large expansion, okay, and that's in a even more rural area, okay, and nobody was complaining about that. Has anybody been to the Board of Ed meeting recently? Okay. The Claremont Road School was discussed this month. And in that is the point when you wonder why things happen. That's the point where you get to communicate with the government to decide what happens. And that would have been a good point for you to discuss traffic issues on South Middlebush Road. So there are productive ways to communicate with government that are not being done other than making an angry post on Facebook. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members? Mr. Metler.
Mr. Regan, I would add my thanks for your service. We never quite got to serve together. I was before you and in the middle, but I know of your dedication to the township, and I appreciate that. Let's see, three things. One is the catch basin. We've been talking. Oh, Robert Metler, 2303 Amwell Road, East Millstone, New Jersey, which is part of Franklin Township. And the catch basin we have been talking about.
I found it.
I dug it out.
I saw.
And
And
so
the pipe needs to be jetted.
yeah, so it became
Yes, I spoke with the Director of Public Works about it.
very good. The reason I bring it up is last year the water would sit there and then it froze over in the very cold winter that we had, and so it was a kind of a dangerous situation.
They need to clear the pipe so it drains on the other side of Metler's.
Great, thank you.
But I saw how you cleared it out, so thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing, well, two more things. One is Ted Chase, congratulations on the ordinance that's going to be introduced tonight, because I know it's something you've been working long and hard on, and I think it's a grand thing for the village of Kingston, and so I join you in what I'm sure is happiness about this resolution of a long-standing problem. And deer were mentioned, and as you probably know, despite the best efforts of Frank and Marianne Finch, Rutgers, the Hutchison Forest is going ahead with putting a deer fence around the old portion of Hutchison Forest. And Frank tells me that the posts are sort of up. And I think it's something that the council should take care about, that they let you know when they are going to drive the deer that are in the forest out of the forest. I've already noticed more on my lawn, by the way, but because if they don't do that in the right way, there will be like real mayhem on Amwell Road potentially. And so please
We've worked very closely with Rutgers. While I take your position as well, as I'm not very happy about the fact that Rutgers is moving ahead with this deer fence. The deer will be driven towards the back of the property. There's an opening in the planned in the back, not on the, and they won't drive towards Amwell Road to move the deer off the property towards Grouser Road.
Grouser, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So and we've had a number of discussions with them to ensure that they do that. And they'll notify us when they're about to do it.
Poor Wildflower Ridge.
Yeah.
They will all be.
And Mr. Randolph and Mr.
And,
Pizzuti and a number of others, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I have for this evening, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Metler. Are there any other? Dr. Burke?
Good evening, Mike Burke, 161 JFK Boulevard in Somerset here. I want to thank the town for paving JFK Boulevard out in front of my house, finally. It's no longer shaking the rafters of my home as the 18-wheelers are going up and down. I don't hear them anymore, so thank you for that. If we could do some work on slowing them down a little bit more, that would be very, very well appreciated. This evening, I took the Pledge of Allegiance with a lot of honor. Yesterday, I passed my citizenship test. I've been in this country for 28 years, in this town for 26 years. Thank you. I would want you to hold your applause for someone else up here who is more deserving of it than I am. I'll take my oath on Friday, but our mayor, Chris Kelly, is the guy who really pushed me over the edge to make this happen. This guy is an inspiration to me. He is a phenomenal person. If you can see the hair growing on his head now, we don't have to worry about a shiny dome on the television camera. We are honored, I think, to have him as a mayor of this town. He came in somewhat unusually, but you have to know that his love for this town, his absolute love for this town and doing the right sort of thing, and working across party lines and working with everyone who has that same love for this town is an inspiration to me and caused me to finally say, I want to be here for the rest of my mortal life. I want to keep running by his side. We covered about 47,000 steps a week and a half ago, and maybe he'll talk a little bit more about it later, but I want to thank him. He didn't know I was saying this tonight. He has no idea about this, so he's going to be a little freaked out, I think. But Chris, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Council, thank you. Keep this guy around. He's a good man. He knows what he's talking about. He loves this town, and I love him. Thank you.
Wow. I'll think about how to respond to that and get back later on. Mr. Siegel.
Scott Siegel, 23 on Navy Court. That's a tough one to beat. I'd like to talk tonight about what I believe is a gaping hole we have in our pay-to-play legislation. As Mayor Kelly pointed out, that Councilman Kramer had said originally when pay-to-play was introduced, it was weak. And I want to talk about our Assemblyman Joe Danielson, because I think that the people that represent us in Trenton should also be subject to pay-to-play laws. This one is a non-fair and open, which is a no-bid contract for Middlebush Park for T&M Associates. It's $104,000. This is done probably when he decided to run, but had not probably officially done so yet. They did give him a $2,600 maximum political contribution. People in this town have to believe that anytime you give a no-bid contract to anybody, that there's no influence from outside sources that are making you do so. I'll give you some examples. This one is for business and governmental insurance. They also gave the maximum no-bid contract. They got a no-bid here that doesn't say the amount. Then they got a second no-bid contract here. Then they got a third. Then there's also North American Insurance. They only gave $350 to Assemblyman Danielson. They also got a no-bid contract. And I'm pretty sure when I open the rest of this town, boy, do I have to go through like the sewage and water utility Oprah directly, or can I do it through the city?
The sewage authority has nothing to do with the Township of Franklin. It's a separate entity.
Okay.
So you would have to go directly through them. The water utility is just part of the township. It's just a
So I can do an up request for them.
But you do, if you did a request, it's the township. It's us.
Okay.
I mean, there
Oh,
is
so
no
it's-
differentiation. It's part of the
That
Township
would
of
have been
Franklin.
there. Okay. So really, if anyone was a vendor here and they want to get a no-bid contract from this council, you don't have to give the maximum $2,600. You can get away with just giving $350, save yourself over $2,000. But I really believe in seriousness that the pay-to-play law should also be done with our representatives in Trenton, because, again, it does not look good when this happens. There's a mailer that's gone out by Councilman Kramer and Slate. First thing it says, attracted new business and ratables to our community. Recently in the council, we discussed on Davidson Avenue alone, there's 1 million square feet of vacant office space. MetLife is moving out. If you drive around this town, you'll see for sale signs everywhere. So, but now, every time one of these businesses close, it just shifts the burden back to our residential units. Talk about reducing spending and the budget. Councilman Kramer, no one pays a budget bill. They pay a tax bill. And taxes have risen in the last 4 years at 16%, which is 100% greater than a 2% cap. And it's funny, they never talk about the taxes going up here. When you have a budget, it's comprised of two parts. The first part is the tax revenue. Then the rest of the budget is outside money, usually from governmental sources. So if taxes are going up 16% and the budget is going down, it tells you two things. One, the taxes are going up and the amount of outside revenue we're getting is going down. There's no other way to square that. And having less outside money and higher taxes, to me, are two bad things, not two good things. And I know that a few years ago, 2009, 10, that the government, both here and federally, cut back on state aid. But we've had many, many years since then to find alternative sources to overcome that, as many other towns have. Middlebush Park, I believe, also had millions of dollars in cost overruns. And I had spoken to multiple soccer individuals, coaches, and people that are involved with the soccer program. And they all tell me that none of them were ever consulted about the soccer fields. And one of them, for example, mentioned the sod that was in there. And the sod, I said, would get ripped up very quickly, and it was replaced. That's the kind of thing, if you talk to those people, it's very possible this whole thing could have been avoided. Public safety, you did hire 2 new police officers, but I believe you also laid off 10, which is -8, so I think that's also false. And we still have not gotten answers from Councilman Prasad about why he lied about the whole affair with the HRC. He's never explained what the role was with Deputy Mayor Kimberly Francois. She's never explained it. The aforementioned Assemblyman Joe Danielson has never explained what his role was. And Councilman Prasad also lied about contacting the FBI. He said it was a constituent, didn't understand English, he doesn't understand political system like he does, when his own email on July 28th came. And then, of course, the same email went out to everybody else on July 29th, and no one said boo about that. So I think we have serious ethical issues in this town, and I hope they do get addressed. They're very easy to be solved. We just have to put our minds to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other?
Skip Schaefer, 2 Lair Terrace, Somerset. There's an old saying that for evil to triumph in the world, it just takes good people to do nothing. I think there are a lot of ethical lapses with this council in which people on the council do not speak up about. Mr. Prasad, I enjoyed the Diwali presentation this evening. I've seen it several times in years past. I didn't see any skinheads. I don't see any neo-Nazis. I don't understand. It's beyond my comprehension why you chose, sir, to instigate and incite a racial issue with Catawba Park when none existed. It's incomprehensible to me. At the August 11th meeting, council meeting, when the public came up here and told you how they felt about what your actions were, at the end of at the beginning of council comments, Ms. Francois, you thanked the public for coming up here and making those comments and holding the council accountable, not only for this instance, but for instances in the past. My question to you, ma'am, is why can't you council members do that yourselves with each other? You all knew about Mr. Prasad's actions prior to that meeting. You were all copied on those emails. And yet when it came time for council comments, except for Mayor Kelly, you all chose to remain silent. Silence connotes consent sometimes. Whether it was your own abuse of power of your position in the past, whether it was Mr. Prasad's, whether it was Councilperson Ritchie's. I mean, nobody on council said one negative comment about any of those actions and the abuse of power of those individuals. Was there no ethics class being taught at Harvard when you attended there, ma'am? Mrs. Sherman's comments that evening were she wanted to invite the Township of Franklin to learn how to play pickleball. That was her priority that evening, not to address the public comments. She wanted to teach us how to play pickleball. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Stench attaches to each and every one of you when you remain silent, when something wrong happens. It doesn't have to be your own action. Ms. Robinson, I've heard you speak many times at BOE meetings. You are a woman of intelligence, of moral character, of high ethics. I'm also positive you've been advised by your council elders coming on board not to say anything negative about your fellow Democrats up there. I have no doubt about that. Please don't, you haven't made any comments regarding Mr. Prasad's issues. Okay, you're new on council. You probably want to get your feet wet. Please don't allow the silence of your colleagues to attach their stench to you. Okay, you're better than that. If you see something wrong, you need to speak up, please. Mr. Kramer, many times you've claimed as an accomplishment that you helped write the sign ordinance for the town on where and when you can post signs. And yet, I see many, 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 many signs, political signs of yours, that are on open space land, that are on state land, that are on right-of-ways, and on the property of malls where maybe a store in the mall, the owner was asked, can you put a sign out there? But was the owner of the mall, which is the person in charge, asked? But many of your signs are in open space and right-of-ways. For me, this election is all about accountability. You sit up there month after month, year after year, but I don't see any evidence at all that you hold yourselves accountable when one of you does something egregious. You sit up there, but I don't really know how much you stand for. I would like to urge Franklin Township to vote the Republican line in next week's election, just so we have more watchful eyes up there. You'll still have your Democratic majority, but we need more watchful eyes up there. And I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm a registered independent. We just need a better balance sitting up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. We're now on to council comments. I will start down with Councilman Vasanella this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items. The deer was mentioned. I'm bringing that up because over the years I've worked in public safety. Matter of fact, my entire duration on council, and it's come up a few times. Open Space has gotten involved because they help recommend policy and create or help us create the ordinances. We have beefed up our deer hunting. I'm not a hunter. I'm not here promoting hunting, but that is, for all practical purposes, a true and tried way to control it. There are others that has worked in Franklin. I believe the most recent one even increased either the amount of land or the amount of time to hunt, if not this past one I know recently. So it's an issue. The one question in the exchange between the resident and the manager that I didn't get, and maybe the manager, when he gets the manager's comments, could address it, is the process he describes exactly right, but I'm wondering if while the carcass is waiting, whether it's, excuse me, within a 24-hour period or takes longer, if it is and can be considered dangerous in this position, whether it's for a bike rider or a car or anybody walking, where it can impede their getting by, whether Public Works moves it at all or whether they're not legally allowed to touch it or whatnot. But that's one area we can try to.
It's not really an issue. Generally speaking, the police department pulls them off the street. I've pulled off probably a couple hundred in my lifetime. And you pull them off the street onto the shoulder and you call it in. It's just a simple process. Okay. Unfortunately, sometimes they sit there more than 24 hours. I acknowledge that, and it's something that if we try and stay on top of the contractor for.
We can do, and of course, no one can control it. Most of the time, it's not the fault of a driver. But, well, you say never. I'll say almost never. I'll go with our 30-year or almost 30-year police representative here, who's now our manager, that it's never. But the point is that it's terrible. You've got to be careful. Franklin, over the years, and I've been here over 50 years. Over 50 years, and yeah, some of it can be blamed on or attributed to development, but that's been going on for 30, 40 years. We need to be conscious of that when anything comes up, whether we're developing a park or a subdivision or whatever. But just be careful. The state trooper that was killed last year wasn't here, but was killed by a deer and hitting a deer, and many people in this state have serious accidents because of it. But like the manager said, bring it to the attention and politely remind him if you see it not gone. Anyway, moving right along, this is the first I'm hearing about the situation with the fire hydrant and whatnot. I know the old area there in Old Lane and off Easton Avenue. I look forward to reading the documents left with the clerk, and what I understand, the manager is just finding out about this tonight, so hopefully we'll get some clarity on that. It's a simple situation, or at least not all of it is. I wanted to acknowledge also, I forget who it was, I think it was Johnny Tibbs who left, that the 9/11 Memorial is a wonderful thing. So is our Veterans Memorial. And it takes effort. Most of these memorials and items like that, and we did the street naming out here, the municipal parking lot, municipal building for the first responder who died, a longtime Franklin resident. Most of these issues have been done, most of these efforts have been done to little or no cost to the town. And I am very proud of having been involved with most of them, and acknowledge Councilman Prasad and others, for especially the township staff, for making that happen. We should be proud of it. It's an unfortunate situation, whether it's veterans acknowledgement or 9/11, but I think it's good that we do remind people of this and honor the people affected by it. It's nice to see Mr. Mettler. I haven't seen in a while, and you look wonderful for what that's worth, and hopefully see you around more often. I did want to mention, of course, Councilman Regan. I worked with for, well, since the day I got on council, and he was probably one of a few people who really mentored me and showed me the ropes. I know we've seen our share in the last few years of slightly controversial subjects and a lot of transitioning, but back 10, 12 years ago, this township really was going through a lot, and it took the steady hand and steady focus and patient approach of people like Brian Regan, Councilman Regan, to keep things calm and get our town through some serious issues having to do with development. So I want to acknowledge his service, and I got to serve on a few different committees, especially public safety. I think the entire duration of his terms, with the time, except for the time in between, we served together, and between fire chiefs and ELS we sat on, and emergency preparedness. I haven't seen anybody, and we have dedicated people, and like it was referenced, we all come with different interests and skill sets, but I haven't seen any councilman before or after me, council person before or after me is dedicated to public safety as Councilman Regan. And I remember when after the shootings and on any other issues that he just doesn't scratch the surface and ask the simple questions. He will ask the tough questions and expect serious results when we're dealing behind the scenes, meaning, in committee meetings and high-end and staff meetings, dealing with the police chief and the manager. And we have a safer town because of Brian Regan. And I thank him for that. And separate from his work on council, I can't name them all. I don't know them all, but whether it's a Knights of Columbus or God knows how many other organizations, his work did not start or stop with serving on this township. And I don't want to embarrass him, but if you just took everything he did other than this township, other than his work on the township council, Franklin is a much better place for it. And I think we're much better off because of him and his family. I know his family's been a big support over the years. I think that's it. That's why I'm thinking I left something out. But thank you, Mayor. And moving on.
Thank you very much. Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've already commented on all the issues of the past, and I'm here to serve and address issues for the future. And while I'm still on council, at least that's my job, and that's what people elected me to do. And there is some business that we should be talking about. Mr. Martin, you know, we will definitely look into that Old Lane Highwood situation. The Red Ribbon Week, the question was, what are we doing? Actually, Officer Don Flanders has been running the DARE and GREAT programs, and both my kids were part of that. And I have driven them to after-school activities for that, and she still does a great job in all the middle schools and at working with the at-risk kids, and she's a really dedicated person. To Mr. Regan, thank you. It's been a pleasure serving, and you are a statesman, and you will be, of course, missed. You are missed, and hopefully your service to the town is not over and will continue in one form or another. So thank you for that. Mr. Tibbs mentioned that, you know, keep in mind that whatever you do in the rezoning, that the jobs for youth should be kept in mind. And actually, the rezoning, going to a multi-use zone where you have retail, office, and small housing geared at bringing in more ratables and also more employment will serve that purpose. And so that is part of the plan. And the rezoning has already worked in that we have had about 7 developers come and talk to our township people and are showing an interest in investing and developing in Franklin, in the Hamilton Street area after we rezoned it. So that is starting to happen, and it's starting to pay off dividends. Now, some other areas that, you know, we should all be aware of. Again, I would like to give it a plug for the poster contest for living above the influence that Alice had talked about. This is a contest that is there for the middle school children, and it is something that'll help get them involved in living and not getting involved with drugs, etc. So that's one. And as far as the police blotter, it is being posted on Facebook and Twitter. And there are things that you can do to avoid some of the thefts that have happened in the south end of town where packages are delivered. And so just insist that they require signatures so that they're not left on the porch, and your property would not be lost that way. Car and home burglaries, the same thing. Don't leave your car unlocked. Don't leave your valuables in plain view, because then you're tempting people to break in. There are also phone scams that are happening where people are coming at you for cutting off your utilities, posing as PSE&G. If you see a number 844-433-4095, that is a scam number. Ignore the call and call PSE&G directly. And the threat that you either wire them the money or they cut off your electricity or power is gas is not, it's a scam. So the same thing is with the IRS. There are IRS scams that they say they'll put you in jail. So the phone number that shows up is 469-522-9196. This is a scam. Please make sure that you know, call. IRS doesn't call people. They will send you a letter and deal with you, but this is all scams. So please be careful. Now, last night, Councilman Kramer and I were at a martyrdom ceremony of Imam Hussein, who was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad. And this was the mosque in town on Cedar Grove. and 72 of his people got martyred by the caliphate because they wanted Muhammad's grandson to acknowledge the king or the caliph as the representative of God. And Imam Hussein refused, and for which he was killed. And some of the people that are part of ISIS are also followers of that same caliphate idea. So it's a very barbaric group that actually beheaded these people and put their heads on spears and showed them in court. And the Jewish and the Christian ambassadors to that court actually walked out of there in protest. So it was quite an enlightening experience that this gentleman held out for his principles and gave his life for it. And that's why it's considered the holiest shrine in Iraq for the Shias, and that is in Karbala. So that is something that we can all learn from. And finally, please vote on Tuesday, November 3rd, and let your voice be heard, and would urge you to get out and vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In addressing Mr. Franz in regards to the buffer committee, I think that's a great idea where you actually get input and hear from the people and actually work with the people. We're here not only to be of service, but also to serve. In regards to the water main being serviced, I definitely will do my due diligence to look into it and ask pertinent questions to get more information. I think it's kind of strange that it was done late at night or.
That's when we
prior
flush
notice.
hydrants in the middle of the night, so it has least impact on businesses and homeowners. In this matter, Councilwoman, just so you know, and I'm not going to draw the township attorney, this has been thoroughly vetted by the township attorney already, and it has really been through every ringer, as they say. So
Were the residents
there's
notified?
not a whole lot to discuss at this point. I can certainly get the documents from the township attorney for you if you want them.
That would be great. In regards to Ms. Fladger's comments, regards to public safety or deer, it was very educational in learning that state highways, they do not clear or remove the deer. But again, I would encourage the information that was provided this evening. If X marks the spot and the deer are not removed in 24 hours, then contact Franklin Police Department. Also, in regards to Mr. Siegel's comments on pay to play, I think planting seeds or putting things out there without explaining to the public what pay to play is, I think a person needs to do their own homework and find out what pay to play is, but just planting seeds and not explaining the process thoroughly and bringing the negative connotation to it, in my mind, is unacceptable. We need to start educating with the public, working with the public, and I think part of that is being transparent and full communication in its totality and not dropping or planting seeds that will cause doubt in people's minds. And if that is the case, whether it's myself or anyone else on council or anyone from the public, everyone should do their own homework. Mr. Schaefer, thank you so kindly for your comments. I have ruffled some feathers in my first 60 days of being on council. Please know that just because you didn't hear it from my lips or from my lips to your ears, I have discussed my disdain of how things transpired. And I'm looking forward to, as I'm walking into my 90 days as of November 11th, to continue to do what is right thing to do. And give me time to continue to research, do my homework, to be able to answer in an educational and intelligent manner. I'm a person that do not make knee-jerk decisions or reactions. I, again, like to do my homework to be able to bring the information to the people. So I'm not just responding to be responding, but I'm responding to provide information and people can come to their own conclusion. And with that said, I would encourage people to go out and vote on November 3rd. That's where your voice is heard, whether you agree or disagree. I'm only one person. I can't make it happen. I don't have a magic wand. I don't have any trick cards up my sleeve. I think if we have the discussion and come to the table, we can move things along and get things done as a community. And I'm a problem solver by nature, so I would like to continue in that fashion. And let us all just work together and come to the table and have a discussion and not just drop seeds of negativity, but let's work together to get things done. And I would just want to say, even in my first 60 days, there's only been 2 meetings that I've been to as far as a council person liaison, so give me some time to continue to work forth as the schedule. We had financial oversight that was postponed, so I will have more to say as time goes on. But I leave you with this, Franklin's mission statement and vision statement. And I do not take this position on this job lightly. It's a job. It's just that. I come here to work. And I think each of us has a position that we have to come here to work. And I agree that the people come up here making public comments are to hold us accountable and at the highest regard of what it is that we need to do for the job that we're being paid to do. And as leaders, not politicians, not as political rhetoric, but as leaders, is to make sure that we're here to do the job to the best of our ability. And thank you for those that come to the table or come to the podium to make sure that we're held accountable at a higher standard. So the mission statement, the Township of Franklin shall, through the democratic process, evaluate the needs of the public and shall provide quality, cost-effective services to the community. The vision statement, residents of the Township of Franklin will live and thrive in a community that values community pride and spirit, celebrates diversity, and creates an environment that provides opportunities for all people so that they develop as healthy, caring, positive, educated, and responsible members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Chase.
Several things. I mean, one is what Mr. Tibbs had to say about Somerset Street from Mile Run to Route 27. I entirely agree with. I brought that up to the Public Works Committee a couple of months ago, and I hope the township engineer has been in contact with New Brunswick about working out a way that we can get that stretch of road resurfaced with both communities contributing. Of course, the complications are doubled when you have 2 municipalities involved in 2 different counties, but we do need to get that done because I quite agree that that stretch of road is in very poor condition. Mr. Franz brought up having a joint resident and council committee on the details of buffering Catalpa Park. This was really an idea that came out of a meeting that Councilman Kramer and I had with residents, and I support this strongly, and I hope the council will support it. I mean, this is not really a formal committee that needs to be established by vote, but just something we do want to hear from the residents to establish satisfactory buffering. A particular issue which came up that I quite agree with, there was concern from residents living next to the Catalpa property about the projected fitness trail running around the outside of the cricket field. And I don't know where this idea came from, but I certainly would recommend to the manager that he recommend to the engineer to put this somewhere else farther away from the neighboring residents, and that this should be done in a way that it doesn't move any of the cricket fields any closer to the residents. I certainly want to see the cricket fields put as close to the driveway and as far from the residents as is possible. Now, there are some other little details that came out of that meeting, but that's all I really wanted to talk about at this time. Just for one thing that Mr. Siegel was talking about, when we have a no-bid contract, that's something that's presented to us by the manager, generally because the particular firm, it has to be done within the guidelines of state law, and it's generally because a particular firm has a unique expertise or ongoing, in some cases, ongoing relationship with the town that he feels it's best that we continue with a particular vendor. I myself make it a point not to know who makes any contribution to any of our political campaigns, so that I am sure I'm not being influenced by any contributions that may have been made. And of course, I want to thank former Councilman Regan for his service on the council, which I learned a lot from also. He's very outspoken and educational to the rest of the council, and a great servant of the people. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the Catalpa Park and the committee about buffering, what was discussed and what I hope comes about is that a committee is formed with 2 council members, 4 members of the public, and some staff members, so that we can get input to properly buffer to minimize the impact of the park on the nearby neighbors. I would ask that any citizens who are interested to submit their names, and we can pick that at future council meetings. I personally would give preference to people who live immediately around the park. They could submit to the master clerk, who, as just in the same manner as you would submit to be on planning board, zoning board, et cetera. Just say buffering committee or committee to buffer. Signs. I have noticed some of my signs being put up illegally. I have a group of people who are putting up signs, and I have been diligently noting to them which signs are illegal. I hope, Mr. Schaefer, you are not colorblind, because there were some red signs that were illegally placed, but you chose not to point those out. Mr. Siegel, I feel I should be running against you, because I seem to have to correct you frequently. And you have positioned yourself as someone with 30 years of municipal finance experience, yet you seem to not understand some basic definitions, such as the reserve for uncollected taxes, and had to be schooled last time by the manager about that. So let me explain what has gone on with the tax increases over the last few years. And Mr. Regan, I hope I don't throw you under the bus, because you and I were very strongly worked together on how to come up with the proper financing of the township, and I think we did an excellent job with it. First, let's start with that 5 years ago when I took office, 5.5 years ago when I took office, the town was going to run out of money in 2.5 years. The town was going to run out of money in 2.5 years. So that might require some drastic measures. Most of those tax increases were in the first year, so that we would not run out of money. And why were we going to run out of money, Mr. Siegel? You may have recalled this thing that happened in 2008. It was a crash of the economy. The crash of the economy affects the township in a way, in kind of a good way and in a bad way. The good way is that houses stopped being built. And what was happening before I got on council, and this is a very complicated thing, it's called the adds and omits, and I'm sorry if I bore anyone, but basically, to make it easy, on numerical average, for the first 6 months a house first comes online. This is numerical average. This is not exactly what happens, but numerical average. The first 6 months a house comes online, all of its taxes, the taxes that would go to the municipality, the taxes that would go to the school, the taxes that would go to the county, open space, etc., all of that goes to the town. So when you're building a lot of houses, as were a lot of people doing before 2008, remember subprime loans? You were selling bonds, I believe, at that time during subprime loans, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Municipal bonds, you were selling municipal bonds. Great. So during that time, there were a lot of houses being built. And the township, this before I got on, was basically floating the money, floating how the township worked off of that money. And that money dried up in an instant. And we were in a desperate situation, and then I rose my hand and I took an oath. And I took an oath to basically to bring this town along and make it financially stable. So yes, we had to raise taxes. But as was the general theme of the day that I took from what the federal government was trying to do and what I thought was a responsible thing to do, is it was a painful situation, but the pain was going to be at both ends. So we also significantly cut the budget. We are now 16% smaller government than we did before. And that was a painful thing to do. Yes, we cut police officers, and as a result of that, when we started hiring again, we cut the salaries of the new hires, which saves us a lot of money. But crime didn't go up when we did that. The crime statistics have tracked state statistics, though done better than state statistics in this town. So yes, we cut police officers. One of the largest expenses in the town is our police force. But we did it in conjunction with our chief of police, and we did it without an increase in crime. And that's a great credit to our men in blue who worked hard and made it happen. So the loss of income, Mr. Siegel, was due to the recession. It wasn't that we chased jobs away or anything like that. It was a loss of income from adds and omits. And I would think someone with 30 years of municipal finance experience would have been able to pick that out. You, on the other hand, at 2 debates, read our past budget and saw that we had a $31 million surplus. And by the way, surplus means the extra money we have in the bank. It's not the extra money you collect per year, but the extra money we have in a bank. And said that if you got in, and I talked to someone who said at the door that if you got in, you would give us a tremendous tax, I guess, rebate. You were going to give back money and you were going to cut taxes. You then, to your credit, came here and apologized and said you had miscalculated what the surplus was. So that kind of financial planning is the kind of financial planning which, in the crisis of 2010 and where we were going in 2010, would have driven us into the ground. The state would have came in and saved us and taken us over like Camden, because they wouldn't have let us do that. But that plan would have driven us into the ground. And that plan that I hope you've gone back to every house that you went to and spoke to all of them and said, gee, I was wrong. And everyone who was at that debate and said, gee, I was wrong. We can't do that. We did what was responsible to do. I'm proud of what we did. We kept the tax increases as low as possible by cutting spending, and we are spending less money now than we did 5 years ago. And I don't think you can find another town around who can do that. Cut the size of government 16%. We had a flat budget this year except for the hiring of the 2 police officers. So I am proud of what we've done. We have a very responsible financial plan, and we are now solvent for 10 years instead of running out of money in 2.5 years. Now, I'm not going to go any farther. I clearly went far enough. In there, I mentioned Mr. Regan, and Mr. Regan was instrumental in this. This was a lot of long financial advisory, financial oversight meetings where we had to figure this out. It was very tough, and I was very glad I had him there at my side, or I at his side, doing that. That was a tremendous service you paid to this town, sir, and the town is in debt to you. The last is to get out and vote, and I certainly will be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Wright.
Mr. Mayor and my fellow council members, and more importantly, to the residents of Franklin Township. Mr. Tibbs lives in the 4th Ward. I represent the 4th Ward. I resent the comments made by Mr. Tibbs. The 4th Ward does not, will not, cannot have a ghetto. Just don't work like that. Nor does Franklin Township as a whole. I don't think anybody up here represents a ghetto. I'm just going to throw it out there. We don't have a ghetto. And that's all I'm going to say about that. The Housing Authority will meet Thursday at 7 p.m. at the senior building, which, by the way, Mr. Tibbs lives in, okay? He lives in the senior building. The land use and redevelopment meetings were canceled this month, and Mr. Regan, sitting over there all by yourself. I want to say thanks for the memories. He has helped the Township Council move forward. He has counseled us, me personally, and he's a good councilman. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the Buffering Advisory Committee. I think that's a great idea. And back on May 31st, I was going back to my minutes when the Catawba Park Committee subcommittee was meeting, and we actually supported the recommendation to have that exercise path along the existing Brown Trail. So I think that's great, and we should move forward with that. Also, the lady was here earlier. She was mentioning programs for our youth against substance abuse. The Franklin Youth Initiative has a boys' council and a girls' circle, and we teach the young people life skills concerning drug prevention. We also have a great program and a DARE program, so those life skills are being taught. And of course, we can always do more. And also the Municipal Alliance Against Drug and Alcohol Abuse and the Youth Services Commission also does a lot of work in that area. I hope she's listening. Also, we received an award this week. The township received an award for its affordable housing program from the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey. So the redevelopment agency, with its partnership with the RPM developer, has created affordable housing in the redevelopment area. So I wanted to bring that up because I'm sure a lot of people don't know that. To receive the award, our director, Mark Healy, was there in attendance with our chairman, Mike Giannata, to receive the award. So that's a great honor for the township. And last but not least, I know I said some things, but I'm remiss not to finish saying what I should have said earlier about our illustrious former councilman, Mr. Brian Gerard Reagan. Gerard, yeah, that's what I said. I didn't know that till tonight. He is truly a great family man, husband, father, community member, and a true statesman. And every time I think about you, I think of that word. You embody that word. You personify that word. You've been done so much for the township. I think it's been said before, you've been a co-leader of the Financial Oversight Subcommittee and helping us stay off the cliff, as our Councilman Kramer says. The two of you worked very, very hard and diligently together for many, many years on that Financial Oversight Subcommittee. I sat on there 1 year, and I used to get exhausted the amount of time we would spend talking about a lot of things on how we needed to move the township forward. But there was a lot of vision there, a lot of leadership, a lot of intelligence, a lot of in-depth thinking, and really, really appreciate everything that you've contributed to Franklin Township. And I also want to thank your family for their sacrifice, allowing you to be shared with us. And I look forward to your next role as freeholder and whatever else you plan on doing in the future. Godspeed to you, and thank you for your service and your dedication and your commitment to Franklin Township. You've made this place a much better place to live. Thank you. I'm finished, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much. I was hoping I'd have 2 more minutes to work on my things here.
Every time I go too fast.
I know, and Councilman Wright really threw me off guard again, being so short. Okay. I will dispatch with the political grandstanding, but I will pat myself on the back a little bit momentarily. Last Saturday on the 24th, there was a really kind of a fun pet Halloween costume contest for a second chance for animals. Yes, I know it is my pet project, pardon the pun. There are about 40 or so dogs that were dressed up like animals, dressed up like other animals, not dogs. There was lions, camels, all kinds of fun things, a shark. Several of them were alumni of the shelter with their new families, so I thought that was kind of a very, very special thing that the volunteers at the shelter remembered the animals that had been there for a while, welcomed them back for it was kind of a homecoming of sorts. Hopefully they will never be there again. So please visit the shelter, donate something, pick up a forever friend if you would be so kind. It is right across the parking lot. Councilman Prasad talked about the police and some of the packages that are being stolen out in the kind of the Franklin Park southern part of town. I had heard about it from a woman I work with. She had some UPS packages stolen off of her porch. And it was amazing. She said about 9 o'clock at night, the police knocked on her door. She got home from work. There were no packages on her door. At 9:30, the police knocked on her door, said packages were stolen. They found them in a park, brought them back to her house, and asked her to open them to make sure that everything was hers and everything was what they ordered. Thought that was an amazing, pretty much an amazing turnaround. So kudos for all of that. She did say they kind of scared her because they kind of showed up and wanted to know who she was, asked for her ID and all that. But other than that, it was a very, very happy ending. As my friend over there, Mike Burke, came up, he threw me off guard with his announcement of becoming a citizen, and I'm somewhat shocked and amazed that he, for all the 24 years or so I've known him, he's been a very, very proud Canadian. And if I was any influence on him taking that citizenship oath later on this week, I am proud to call him a friend and now a fellow American. So welcome to the club on that one. Also, as I mentioned at our last meeting, I did run the Atlantic City Marathon on the 18th of October for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society with my friend Mike back there. Our team, there were 4 of us. 2 ran the half marathon, 2 ran the full. two of us ran the full. Our four-person team raised $11,860 so far. There are about $1,500 to $1,600 more dollars in corporate matches coming in, so we'll be somewhere in the close to $14,000 range when we're all done. I brought a picture that I promised I would because I am a man of my word. I vowed that if I raised enough money, I would wear a skirt for the race. I will pass them along. I will hold them up so everyone can see. Yes, I did the whole race in a skirt. I'd like to say it was a rather manly skirt.
Skeleton, skulls.
But yes, there were skulls on the skirt. I borrowed it from my wife. It was much nicer than my running shorts because it had pockets to hold the phone and all the gels and everything. I'd wear it more often if I had more things to carry when I run. So I did say also that I would actually admit to the finishing time I had. It was 3 hours, 54 minutes, and 40 seconds. By far my slowest ever in a non-triathlon marathon. It was actually an hour and 8 minutes slower than my fastest on the same race course, but you know what? It was 30 days after my last chemotherapy session, so I will take it. On that same note, I want to thank Councilman Regan for his service, but also chastise him a little bit because you stole my thunder with the announcement. Yesterday I had a PET scan for 5 weeks after my last chemo treatment, and my doctor did give me the all clear, so there is only things living inside of me are things that should be living inside of me right now. So I do have a clean bill of health, knock on, thank you all. I do want to thank everybody up here on council. As much as we have differences philosophically, I'd like to say we are all friends in the end. I'd like to thank you all for your support as I went through this, and all the caring, kind words that people have offered me. Also, people in the town, former councilmen have reached out to me as well, friends, family, and all that. Really don't think I would have been able to get through this without it. I'd be remiss if I didn't. I know you didn't point me out this evening, Mr. Connell, but getting back to the running joke, in the beginning when I lost all my hair, he said I should put some powder on my head to keep it from being shiny from these lights up here. I decided I would rebel from that and just wait for the natural look to come back. Thankfully, it started to come back. A little faster, a little grayer than I would have preferred, or I should say grayer. The grayer part is going faster than I would have preferred, but I'll take it. It's there. Mr. Schaefer, I cannot say I disagree with you on many of your points. I will not grandstand or anything, but I cannot say I completely disagree. And then, let me see, because I can't even really read my notes anymore. On November 14th, for those of you out there who are runners or walkers or interested, there is a 5-kilometer race in Colonial Park. It's the Somerset County Turkey Trot. I think it starts at 8:39 in the morning. Everyone that wins their age group wins a turkey. That's great for Thanksgiving. I plan to be there. I have a feeling I won't be defending my age group title this year, but you know what? There is always next year to do that. So on that note, there is also, I know the part of me that is not growing very quickly is this here. I figured I would get a jump start on Movember to raise money for raise money and awareness for prostate cancer. So since this never grows very quickly, I'm giving myself about an extra 10 days jump start just to let it come in. So at the end of the month, I am not the one with a shaggy, sad-looking facial hair. So on that note, let's go Mets, and on over to the manager.
Before the manager speaks, I just wanted to remind everyone it's Halloween, and when you go trick-or-treating, go with the kids. And if you pick up food, you see my little wrapper here? I will eat this tonight, but watch the food out there. You have some people out there that just aren't with the program. So if you don't go with your kids, you never know what they bring home. If you don't tell your kids, do not eat the food until you come home, there's going to be the problem. So enjoy yourself, but watch the treats. Now I'm going to eat my lollipop. Go right ahead.
No, along those lines, there's a trunk or treat program that, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman, Mr. Mayor, all of council. Mr. Siegel, I just, before I saw you getting up, and I don't want you to leave, I just have one quick question for you. I thought, and I didn't want to mishear you. You made mention of several $1 million in cost overruns with Middlebush Park. All right, well, I am going to just outright say that that is untrue. That is completely and totally fabricated by whoever told you that. The budget that was set by this council as it relates to the bonds that were issued for that park and the amount of money spent to complete that project, there is still money available on those bonds, and it has not gone over budget. It is under budget. So I don't know where you heard that information, but I am telling you without any doubt in my mind tonight, that is not true. So that's number one. Number two, the involvement of people from the Franklin Township Soccer Club comes from their involvement in the Franklin Township Recreation Advisory Club, Recreation Advisory Committee, I should say. They have representation on that committee, and all of the work that was done in Middlebush Park went through that committee as well as others in the town. So again, I'm not quite sure where you got your information, but it is not true. So I'll just speak on that because I don't quite understand where that information came from, but neither here nor there. I can just refute it tonight. Mr. Schaefer, this is absolutely the worst time of the year to be the township manager. I will tell you that. I spent the first 45 minutes of my day this morning before my start time of 8:30, starting at Kingston Trap Rock and riding northbound on Route 27 all the way to Veronica Avenue, and then driving southbound on South Middlebush Road all the way to Route 27. The one thing about our ordinance as far as political signs are concerned, and I heard you make mention of signs in front of shopping centers, I would assume you're speaking of the ones that I saw on Route 27. Political signs are permitted anywhere in the non-traveled portion of the right-of-way. It does not matter who owns the property. You do not need the property owner's consent to put signs there. It's permitted anywhere within the non-traveled portion of the public right-of-way. And in fact, I have the ordinance up on my computer screen right now, and it is 112-108 if you want to see this. That's the site. So they're not permitted on township, county, or state properties, be it open space or municipal property, or boards of education property. So that's where the South Middlebush Road stretch comes into play because, and I think I'm pretty good at this point in knowing which ones are ours in the states and which ones are not. They were pretty good right now. I had to make some corrections about a week or two ago on some of the signs that were starting to come up, but they're a whole lot better than they were in previous years. And I will continue to be diligent and make sure they're where they're supposed to be. And really, that's my report tonight, Mr. Mayor. Trunk or treat at St. Matthias, no, there's the Pumpkin Patch Festival on the 31st here, Saturday afternoon. And just to take it one step further, there is a curfew here in Franklin Township on Halloween, and it is 8 p.m. if it's for under 18 years old, unless they're accompanied by a parent. So again, with Saturday, and Mr. Regan, don't leave just yet. Mr. Regan, don't leave just yet, please. children should not be out trick-or-treating beyond 8 o'clock without a parent. Outside of my report, Mr. Regan, I want to say thank you to you. You and I have worked together now for beyond the 3 years that I've been the township manager, and you have been always very complimentary of me, and I certainly appreciate that, but I would like to be complimentary of you. You have shown the true spirit of what I think a council person should be, and it's to always put the township first. And every conversation that we have ever had, whether we agreed or disagreed, has always been you putting this township first. And for that, as a township employee for, well, next month, 30 years, I truly appreciate that. It means very much to me to know that the people who are running this town care about this town the way you do. So thank you for all that you've done for Franklin.
Mr. Mayor?
Are we back to the council comments now, or are we moving over?
Real quick. On Sunday, if anyone has anything, they're not busy, on Sunday at 10 o'clock, Franklin Township Pop Warner will be hosting the Central Jersey Championships at Middlebush Park. So if you want to come out, watch some good football, come on down.
But be quiet.
Is that what Ted said? Is that what Ted said?
He said, just be quiet.
Is that the final council comment?
Yes.
Okay. The following minutes are hereby presented for approval by the Township Council. Township Council Work Session, regular meeting, October 13th, 2015 at 7 p.m. Township Council Executive Session, October 13th, 2015.
I move that the minutes be approved as submitted.
Seconded.
Ms. McCarthy, will you poll the council?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Warrants in the amount of $9,031,378.47 on October 27th, 2015 are presented to the Township Council for payment.
I move that the warrants as read be paid.
Seconded.
Ms. McCarthy, will you poll the council?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Ordinance number 4121-15, an ordinance authorizing the lease of certain premises by the Township of Franklin, landlord, in the County of Somerset to 25 Laurel LLC, tenant, for premises known as 25 Laurel Avenue, Kingston, portion of Block 5.01, Lot 141, for nonprofit and profit uses as approved by the landlord and NJDEP Green Acres Program. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing for final adoption on Tuesday, November 10th, 2015, at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Complex.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Ms.
I'm gonna
McCarthy?
Move it.
I request
Let him
that
move it.
we allow Mr. Chase
Go
to
ahead,
move
Mr.
that.
I want to move that. That's just been a matter of a great deal of work since before I was on the council, and I'm very happy that we finally have a good solution that will get the Kingston School in use again, as well as in good physical shape again.
Second.
Well done, both of you. Okay, Ms. McCarthy, will you poll the council?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Francois?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chase.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Gladly.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I don't get a vote on this one, but I have to tell you that Councilman Chase and I have worked very, very hard on this for the last 3 years to try to come up with a solution. And this lease defies a lot of things. This lease for this building, this 24-year lease, is the first in the history of the state of New Jersey for that length to perform this type of work on a publicly owned building. So Councilman Chase really does deserve a tremendous amount of credit, and we're saving a historic building that otherwise we had really kind of written off and said we're not going to be able to do anything with it. So it's a pretty amazing thing. It really is.
Well, I want to thank all the members of the Kingston Village Advisory Committee, particularly Robert von Zumbush and Ann Zeman and Kathy Pavlik for their work on this matter. In particular, well, Robert von Zumbush knows the Green Acres regulations better than Green Acres, and that was really important in getting this through. And most of all, of course, I want to thank the Touchman Foundation and Ohad Feigenbaum for stepping in to do this, to refurbish the school so that it can once again be put in use. It will be used again as a school. The Kingston Green will still be available for all of the residents of the, actually all of the relevant residents of Kingston. People from the South Brunswick side come over and use it.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification and explanation on that. The items A through K, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption.
Motion for passage.
Seconded.
Ms. McCarthy, will you poll the council?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay. Are there any nominations for boards, committees, or commissions? Okay. Seeing none. Resolution 15-49, authorize executive session, attorney-client privilege, Housing Authority and Redevelopment Agency appointments and acquisition of property, 425 Lewis Street, is presented to the Township Council for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McCarthy, will you poll the council?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
At this time, the Township Council will adjourn to the executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege, Housing Authority and Redevelopment Agency appointments, and acquisition of property, 425 Lewis Street. No other actions will be taken by this Township Council at the conclusion of the executive session. Therefore, the recording of this meeting will end now. Have a good night, all.